And we are live. This is the first show on my new Breaking Kfab network. This show is going to be entitled Going Old School. This is, of course, episode 1, and we are talking about movies on the show. So, let's get into it. What movie? We're talking about going old school, ongoing old school. That's actually why I chose it. This movie came out in 2003. I was actually surprised. Every time I look at older movies, I'm like, how long ago was that? And then I realized how old I am, and I'm like, Jesus, I'm an old dude. Um, Now, the first thing that I found funny, because I have not watched this in years, so of course I wanted to watch it before I did this show, is whenever you say the movie Old School, and if you ask them who's it starring, the first and probably only name that they'll actually say is, of course, Will Ferrell. This movie does not actually star Will Ferrell. He's in the movie, and he had some of the breakout scenes and breakout dialogue and stuff, but it's actually Luke Wilson's movie, which even on the cover you see Luke Wilson all up in the corner, and Vince Vaughn, who's another character in the thing, over in this corner. Even he is more dominantly shown in the cover art for the DVD case, and I'm pretty sure they used this as the poster as well. So it was actually like a really interesting thing, because I went into it going, okay, Will Smith, wow, Will Ferrell movie, and then as I'm watching, I'm like, huh, this is Luke Wilson's movie. But it kind of goes to show you, and this does happen in Hollywood quite a bit. For those of you who don't know, a little side trivia on this: a big time TV show did this in the 90s. It was part of the TGIF lineup, and it was called Family Matters. Family Matters was a show about Carl Winslow and his family. But most people forget about that because Steve Urkel came on the show, and he became the character of the show. So this does happen every now and then. So it's actually not as unheard of. But in going through the show, I decided I wanted to look into the history of the show. I wanted to look in what kind of the box office was. Now, before I go into any of this, I have to show you this box office, because this was so intriguing to me. So I pulled this up and pulled up the whole thing. Just look at the movies that came out during this time. You have X2, X-Men Unite. Wait, yeah, X-Men United. Sorry, just naming it X. You had Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. You had Bruce Almighty. You had Pirates of the Caribbean. You had Matrix Reloaded, Finding Nemo, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, of course, which was the top draw that year, earning over $1 billion. I don't watch that series. Oh wow, I didn't even notice this the first time I went through it. But I mean, look, you also have Matrix Revolutions too. So you had two Matrix films this year: Bad Boys 2, X-Men, Terminator, The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, which I actually quite enjoy that movie. Pirates of the Caribbean, being The Curse of the Black Pearl. I mean, this was one hell of a year in movies itself. So the fact that this came out around the same time, and that's not even counting some of the other movies that came out. So it came out in 2003, right? The actual date that it came out was on February 21st. It opened number 2 behind Daredevil with Ben Affleck, who took the number 1 spot, that actually came out a week beforehand. Now, the other films that were in the same date, the February 21st date: Dark Blue, Gods and Generals, and then The Life of David Guile. I don't know, somewhere on there I feel like maybe sometimes it's TV movies, but it doesn't really matter. Now, the week before, that's when Daredevil came out, and The Jungle Book 2, which I thought The Jungle Book 2 came out way earlier than that. But that's still a pretty stacked. Now, from there, the week after, you only had Cradle to the Grave, which is the second one. That really wasn't going to go for it. And then I was also surprised when I started, like I said, when I started doing the research. This actually intrigued me a lot more. I started enjoying this so much more. It's a DreamWorks movie, which I was like, because you don't associate like screwball comedies or raunchy comedies with DreamWorks. We're more in the day that when you say DreamWorks, you're thinking about DreamWorks animation. You're not thinking about this type of movie. But its director was Todd Phillips. I'm going to mention something in a second, but this guy, his other movies around the same time that actually um, put him on the map and made him, the name, he did 2000's Road Trip. Love that movie. Actually, I like that movie better than Old School. And he also did the Hangover franchise. So the trilogy of the movies Hangover. His upcoming, I had to look at his upcoming and all that while I was doing this and write down some of them. He's actually doing the Hulk Hogan biopic that has um, God, I keep wanting to say Chris Evans. It's not Chris Evans. Freaking Thor, Hemsworth. Has Chris Hemsworth. That movie is still like, I don't know what to expect from it. Being a wrestling fan, I don't know what to expect from Chris Hemsworth playing Hulk Hogan. It's insane. But he also did my most hated movie in the last 5 years, and I'm so fucking sad to say this. He did the Joker. Not the Joker. He did Joker. I want to emphasize the fact that it's not the. But going off that, he did some seriously good movies, and so the budget of the movie, as I was looking up, the budget of the movie was only $24 million, and the overall worldwide box office hit about $87 million. So if you know anything about that, it was a success. Not much of a success, because what you got to do with budgets like this, you got to end up taking the worldwide total, take about a third of it away immediately, and then whatever you're left with is kind of how you can figure out whether the studio's broke even or increase it. So if you take the 24 million, or you take the 87 divided by a third, you're looking at about 60. So it did make money. It actually doubled its money for this thing. So that was actually really cool. The average critical rating is 5.6 out of 10. I would love to see what people think, like if they go back and watch it, because I had I had watched this movie several times when I first got it. I think I ended up watching it on DVD. I did not go to theaters at the time um, very often, and this would not be a movie. Even if this movie came out now, it probably would not be a movie that I would be like, I have to go see that in theaters. It works at a at home thing. Um, but to kind of see in the background and see like different characters, like you got, wow, Alicia Cuthbert. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Probably wrong, but she was in it, which she, of course, ended up being in the TV show 24 and in the movie that a lot of people probably know her from, which is The Girl Next Door. She is actually currently on. Did they get renewed? I don't know. She's currently been doing The Ranch with Ashton Kutcher, so she's still kind of working. It's kind of nice, but she plays such a small role in it. It really doesn't matter. But again, I went into this thinking about Will Smith. What did this movie, or I keep saying Will Smith, damn. Will Ferrell, and what this movie was to him specifically. Now, to him specifically, you got to look at his background. His background was SNL at the time. So he was an SNL guy trying to make it in the movie industry. Now, beforehand, he did have a couple roles, but he was not the lead. And then I ended up finding out that even in this, he wasn't the lead. But now, kind of everybody looks back at it and says he was. But if you look at everything, I mean, he's not top billed whatsoever. Like you'll actually see on the cover, even though he's in the middle, they have Luke Wilson top billed there, and even in the credits, Luke Wilson has top billing in this. So Luke Wilson was kind of in the middle of his career, so but he's never made it to exact heights. I do like the fact that he's on Stargirl, uh, the new DC show on CW. I binged the entire season like last week. I actually quite enjoyed that. Has him and Amy Smart in it. I love Amy Smart. Um, but back to Will Ferrell is the fact that before this, so this came out in 2003. He actually had two movies come out in 2003, and the second one is probably one that I would say is higher up on the tier for a lot of people, because I know a lot of people that absolutely love the movie, and around this time of year they start watching it a little bit more. In 2003, he also starred in Elf. So that was a little bit more of his starring role, because clearly he was the star of that one. In this one, he played the secondary role of Frank the Tank. But I got to admit, as much as I don't think this is my favorite Will Ferrell, um, I do like Will Ferrell quite a bit actually. But as far as Will Ferrell goes, this to me nowadays is just not really where I would want him to be. But before that, he had Mugatu in Zoolander, and he also was in Jay and Silent Bob Strike back in 2001. So this is about 2 years after that. But before that, it was mostly SNL, and then he had Night at the Roxbury, which I absolutely love that film, but it wasn't something that was going to kind of put him on the map. I think this movie in general really put him on the map, and I think it was such a kind of a callback. I think they were basically trying to go into the like Animal House and like the college movies, but not make it a college movie. So it was actually really interesting to watch it a second time, and I think that's the best part about like just assigning myself to watch this movie is I got to watch a movie that I haven't watched in years, and I rewatched it, and it was really kind of good. Like I enjoyed, I was laughing, and then just the intriguing nature of it. Um, like I said, the critical rating not bad. It opened second behind Daredevil, which Daredevil was a big movie that year. And then, like I said, we went over like the box office that was there that year. I mean, you had some big names. X2, X-Men United is probably some people's still their favorite X-Men movie. I'd have to say it is. I actually no, I really like that one, but I do like Days of Future Past. I think that became my favorite like straight up X-Men film. Wolverine and Logan are still above that, but X2 was just like one of the best films. Daredevil. Then you know, everybody that likes Lord of the Rings. I'm not one of them. Um, so you see all these movies coming out, Pirates of the Caribbean, which was just an amazing hit. And while they did not get like Old School did not make it on the top 10 grossing movies that year, didn't really have to. This was more of a like a lower tier thing. It was only made for $24 million. You didn't need it to be that top tier movie. So it did get a lot of success. I do feel, and I'd have to get a couple people's opinions on this. And if you have this opinion, go ahead and comment it below. But I feel like this movie was one of those kind of slow burn movies where, yes, it did make a little bit money and had a little bit of a fan base in the theaters. But I think on home release and when they started seeing it like pop up on TV, I think that's when a lot more people started liking it. And then, of course, in the subsequent years, you have um, Will Ferrell starting to become a little bit bigger. He got on a roll there for a while, and I mean, he's had some really good roles. I mean, before this, the one thing I didn't talk about was he did have a spot in Austin Powers, and it was actually a memorable thing. We actually quite enjoy him in Austin Powers, but nobody cared about Will Ferrell in that movie. Mike Myers was the one in that movie. So that was another reason why, as I was like doing the research for this, this is the movie I think that put Will Ferrell on the map. And he's had some up and downs. Like he's done some really good movies, and he's done some okay movies that some people just don't care about. Um, but it all kind of started with this and the crude humor and very got a lot of people that quote this movie. You know, the my buddy Adam, he always quotes, "You're my boy, Blue," which that was a really like sweet part. But now we go into a little bit of the other side of things. I do want to be a little bit critical of this because I kind of feel like this is a movie about moments, not necessarily about the story, and that's not a bad thing for the most part. But I mean, you go through the story. Guy finds out his girl is cheating on him, buys a house. His friend basically turns it into a fraternity. A kid they used to pick on earlier in life was the dean that then blackmails the student council, or the council that decides whether they're allowed to be a fraternity or not, blackmails her in order to basically kick them out. And like basically this guy that just got this house, like just started renting this house, to evict him. And then they have to go through like a Billy Madison type decathlon to prove that they belong there. And I'm just like, in the real world, this was not happen. First of all, 90% of the people in this house are adults that don't go to the college. So ultimately, you can't be a fraternity for the college. I think there was like just a handful of people, and they only focused on a couple of them, which I forgot. I should have wrote down the guy's name, but it had an appearance from one of the guys from Big Bang Theory, the like kind of skinny one. I don't know the actor's name. Sorry. Skinny one. He has like the bowl haircut, but he plays one of the kids that goes to the college, and it was kind of intriguing, but at the same time, like the story itself doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like you kind of wonder why would Vince Vaughn's character, because that's who ultimately suggests making it a fraternity for both old age guys and college people, just all come together. And then at the same time, he also goes, "Oh, we're gonna get so much, girls from this." And they have one scene with him where he's about to hook up with a girl, and he basically goes, "Oh wait, I'm married. I can't do this." Like, dude, that was the whole point of why you wanted to do this. But it does get kind of intriguing. Like Alicia Cuthbert's character, right at the beginning, not spoiling too much about it, but she and Luke Wilson sleep together, and she ends up being the daughter of his boss. So at the same time, like now that I'm kind of like saying little bits of what gets the story kind of going, you kind of just look at it and be like, yeah, you just kind of threw in every like random thing you could. It's like you got her character who's actually underage. She's in high school. Then you got the old love coming back that, they lost track, but oh, they both loved each other. They just never got together. Uh, you got the random Vince Vaughn character who has money, runs an electronics company, or store, sells stuff and all that. And then you got Frank the Tank, which it begins with his wedding, and because he got drunk, his wife basically kicks him out. It's just so random, everything that kind of happened. I don't know what kind of story really happened in there. That's why, honestly, as much as I love this, as far as Todd Phillips films, Road Trip had a better story, and Hangover 1 had a better story. But I do think this was a very good watch. I loved going back to it, and I'm actually really, really kind of happy. Another character that was in this movie that, again, as I go forward doing these episodes and stuff, I'll try to write a little bit more down so that I have the right information. But in the DC show Arrow, the guy that plays Wild Dog, he's in this as well, and he is so random when I see him pop up in old stuff. I mean, this guy, he was part of one of my shows that I actually quite enjoy, and I kind of wish they would have kept it going. Reaper, where they have the son of the devil, and he's part of the team taking down souls that have escaped from hell. Of course, I mentioned he was on Arrow. He shows up in the last season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Um, he just he has a really like, "Oh, I'll show up this, I'll do this, do this." Like that's kind of the career that guy has, which I really like him. But like I said, ultimately, is this the best Will Ferrell movie? Maybe, in your opinion. Um, it's a really good movie. It's a really fun watch. And if you have not watched it in a while, I definitely recommend, popping it in. Of course, I always get the unrated versions because it's more fun. Actually, I should do a show on that because sometimes the unrated versions are not the better versions. But I know a specific movie where I could actually tell you that the unrated version is not the best. But if you have not watched this in a while, I highly recommend you watch it because it's actually a really fun watch, and you kind of get to see, the blossoming of Will Ferrell, and it kind of gets me a little nostalgic, um, really. So definitely go check it out. Leave it down in the comments what you think about the movie, and if you can, like, subscribe, comment. I'm going to be doing the show once a week. I'm going to be trying to get some guests on the show, scheduling conflicts and all that. But again, watch this movie, like, comment, share this if you can. Help me build this channel. I would love to be able to get more feedback and talk to people during this pandemic. And actually, currently, I'm unemployed, so this is a way to get my head out of all the uh, sad news out there. So, share, like, subscribe, comment below. What movies do you think I should do next? What movies do you like? Did you like this movie? Is this your top Will Ferrell movie? Anyway, you can follow me on Instagram at right there, Louis Lorky II on Instagram. I don't post there much, but I will be announcing probably around Friday or Saturday on my Instagram what movie I'm going to be doing next week, and hopefully I can announce that I'll have a guest on. I don't know, but if not, I will see you next week. Enjoy your movies. I would say be kind, rewind if anybody understands that, but nobody understands it because it's a DVD now. Anyway, I'll see you guys next week.